Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah. My dear learners, respected viewers, and honorable guardians, you are all most welcome to virtual platform of Deolgram High School. I would like to start my class with the Islamic greetings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May peace, mercy, and blessing of Almighty be upon you all. I hope you are all very hale and hearty at your residence by the mercy of Allah. I am very much thankful to our Almighty Creator for keeping us very well in such a tough situation. My dear students, as you know, I have started the class in my previous session. This class also very important and essential for you. But today I am going to start another class. Before going to start my another class, I would like to introduce myself for them who are watching my class at the first time. I am S.M. Shamim, assistant teacher of Deolgram High School. Once again, before you to conduct a online class, this class is very important not only for the student of class 10 but also every class and every students from class 6 to 11. So don't get late without wasting our times. I am going to start my class. Today's class is voice change. As you know, I discussed primary elements to change the voice in my previous session. Today, we have to know how to change the active voice to passive voice. In my previous class, I discussed the definition of voice and the types of voice. For your better understanding, I am telling you once again, what is the voice? Voice is the way of expressing verb which describes whether the subject does the work or the work is done by the subject. You have known very well how many types of voice. There are two types of voice. You have noticed that active voice and passive voice. Now can you ask me, what is the active voice? Active voice is such type of sentence in which subject does the work actively by himself. In that sentence, verb is active. And another case, what is passive voice? Can you tell me, my dear students? Passive voice is such type of sentence in which subject doesn't do the work himself actively. Rather than object work is done by the subject. Have you understood, my dear students? I repeat again. Active voice is such type of sentence in which subject does the work actively by himself, and passive voice is such type of sentence in which subject doesn't do the work actively by himself, rather than object work is done by the subject. Okay? I hope you have understood the point. Now, I have written down some structure related with tense. Here is if you find subject verb present, you have to follow this structure in the passive voice. You have to find am is are verb plus ing. You have to follow the am is are plus being plus verb 3. Just mention in every cases in the passive voice you have to use first participle form of verb. That means verb number 3. Okay. Before changing the voice active to passive, it is very important to know 3 things, that is subject, verb and object. For your clear conception, I am writing a sentence. I write a letter. The more important thing is, my dear students, to change the active to passive. At first you have to identify the verb, then subject, then object. Now we have to identify the verb of the sentence. What is the verb of the sentence? Actually, in assertive sentence, mostly verb is used after the subject. Okay? But in interrogative sentence, before the subject and after the subject. In assertive sentence, verb is used most commonly after the subject. Okay? So, what is the subject of the verb? Subject of the verb is write. Now we have to identify the objects or subject of the sentence. What is the subject of the sentence? The subject of the sentence. How to identify the subject of the sentence? Subject is also used before the verb. Verb is used after the subject, subject is used before the verb. So, I is the subject of the sentence. What is the object of the sentence? Can you tell me, my dear students, what is the object of the sentence? Object of the sentence is a letter, because object is used mostly after the verb. Verb is used before the object. Actually, I discussed that point in my previous class. Now, if we want to change the active voice into passive voice, we have to change the subjective form and objective form. That means subjective form of the active voice will be the objective form of passive voice, and objective form of passive voice will be the subjective form of passive voice. Okay? Now, what is the objective form of this sentence? Objective form of sentence is a letter. What will be the subjective form of this sentence? As I mentioned earlier, if you find any pronominal subject or object in the active voice, that will be changed in form and position. That means I, me, he, him, she, her, we, us, they, them. If you find any of this in the sentence as a subjective form or objective form, that will be changed in position as well as in form or shape. Without this pronominal subject, what you see, what you will find, all of them may be used as a subject, may be used as a object. There will be no change in their form, just change in their position. That means objective form turn into the position of subjective form, and subjective form turn into the objective form. Okay, have you got the point, my dear students? So according to the rules, we have to firstly we have to find out the verb. What is the verb? Right. What form is verb? Verb present. Now we go to the structure of active voice. If there is subject plus verb present, here is a verb present. So we have to use am is are to change into passive voice. That means am is are will be used according to the rules if there is any present form. Okay? Now at first we have to change the subject of object. What is the subject of object? The subject of object is letter. So you have to write a letter. A letter. Which one will be used with the letter? You cannot use three at a time. You have to use any of these from three words. Okay? Is. Why we use is? Because a letter is the third person singular number. As the subject is third person singular number, so the verb is used. Otherwise, if the subject is third person singular number or any third person plural number or any plural number, you have to use are. Okay? Then, according to the rules, am is that we have used is. Then verb number 3. Verb number 3. What will be the verb number 3 of write? Write, wrote, written. Do, did, done. Eat, ate, eaten. So don't forget, my dear students, to learn the forms of verb. Without learning the forms of verb, you are not able to change the active to passive. So it is so important. A letter, so I have to write written. Written. After writing all of the structure, then you have to use by. I have written by preposition because by is most of the cases used in the passive voice. Other preposition also be used. I will discuss other preposition in my later class. Now we have to use object of the subject. What is the subject of the sentence? I is the subject of the sentence. What will be the objective form of I? You have known very well. The objective from the I is me. Objective from the I, me. Okay, that has been done as a passive voice. What will you have to do at first? At first you have to identify the verb. Then you have to identify the subject or object. Then object will be the position or shape of subject, and subject will be the position of object. Before object of the passive voice, you have to use by. Okay? Now I am giving you another example. I am writing a letter. I am writing a letter. Okay? Before going to change the form, we have to match the structure. Here, am plus verb ing. We have to use second rule of the active voice and passive voice. Here also am is a verb ing. three of these we have to use always one auxiliary verb according to the subject. So you have to follow this structure in the passive voice. At first we have to change the subject of object. What is the object of the sentence? A letter. A letter is the object of sentence. That will be the subject in the passive voice. So the subjective form of the letter is a letter. Okay? Which one will be used with a letter? As we know earlier, a letter as a third person singular number, we have to use is. We have to use is. Then being. If there is verb ing, we have to use being. Being, B-I-N-G, being. Why we can use being or is? Why we use to be verb in the passive form? Can you tell me, my dear students? Why we use to be verb in the passive form? Because to unchange the form and meaning of the sentence, to unchange the meaning and tense of the sentence, we have to use to be verb. If we do not use to be verb, the meaning of the sentence will be changed. Just have a look. It is the sentence of present continuous tense. That will be the sentence of present continuous tense. You have to maintain the form of tense, though you have changed into passive form. In that case, we have to use to be verb. A letter is being, then verb number 3. Always you have to use verb number 3 in the passive form. What will be the verb number 3? Right? You have to know earlier. Right is written. It is written. Then by. Then object of subject. What will be the object of I? The object of I is me. Okay, my dear students, in this way you have to practice more and more to follow this rule. If there is any structure of the box in the active voice, you have to follow this structure in the passive voice. At first you have to change the objective form of subject, then you have to use to be verb, then you have to use verb PP, that means past participle form of verb, then by, then subjective form of objective form of subject. Okay, I think you have got the point, and I hope you will be able to change the all form of active to passive according to the tense. Here are also remaining tense: future, indefinite, that means shall, shall be, shall have. All these also the same rule. There is no difference. Okay? Actually, my dear students, when we learn some things, we make a mistakes. This is the part of our learning. So don't worry to make any mistakes in the case of learning, because without mistaking you cannot learn anything. By these mistakes you are learning. At first time, at the first stage, everyone make a mistakes. No problem. I hope you will be more confidence and you will be more hard worker and try to change the voice at your residence, and don't forget to study as a part of your job. So, my dear students, no more today. I will meet you in the another session. Till then, take care. Huda Hafiz.